Have you ever pondered why some people appear to handle life effortlessly while others find it difficult at every turn? Self-control and understanding what to give up. And what if I told you that developing self-control is found in the ancient Stoic philosophy? Stoicism is a system of thought that originated in the ancient Athens marketplaces, taught us that contentment lies in living in the present and not letting go of the past. As the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once stated, we are either driven by our desire for pleasure or our dread of suffering. Our thoughts shape our lives, and today we'll examine how this timeless notion might benefit you. Clear out the things that are holding you back and preventing you from being the finest version of yourself. Determine and talk about the 11 Stoic habits and mindsets. Should be discreetly removed from our lives, according to Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Although achieving well-being takes time and effort, it is not a trivial matter in and of itself. This is an interactive passive viewing experience, and we want you to actively participate by sharing your thoughts. Remain with us till the very end, since this journey offers more than simply information, but a chance for in-depth introspection and change. Let's unhealthy comparing oneself to others. Let's start by addressing the first bad habit, comparing oneself to others. The most frequent danger is the destructive practice of evaluating yourself against others, especially through the prism of societal. We've all engaged in media consumption, frequently without even recognizing it. We have to learn to get over the fact that we are constantly aimlessly browsing through our feeds, letting ourselves be sucked into a virtual world where everyone else's lives appear to be somehow richer, more vibrant, and more thrilling than our own. This is a quiet reflection of what, according to the Stoic philosopher Seneca, we suffer more in our imaginations than in real life. Seneca was correct in reality. We examine these carefully selected highlights, carefully chosen moments that are frequently removed from the mundane, everyday realities of life's pain setbacks. We fool ourselves with the appearance of perfection and start contrasting our actual situation with these inflated conceptions of the ideal life, and in doing so, we position ourselves for disappointment and discontent. Be cautious. This could be the beginning of a deadly downward spiral. First, as an innocent pastime, but when we start comparing, we unintentionally set out on a path that takes us from self-satisfaction to self-devaluation. A man is only as miserable as he believes he is, according to Seneca. Marcus Aurelius once stated that you have control over your thoughts, independent of external circumstances. Recognize this, and you will find strength so that, even though you have no control over what you see on social media, you can control how much of an impact it has. Our intrinsic strength should always define our sense of self-worth, not how we compare to other people. Perseverance and the kindness we show the world. Marcus Aurelius shrewdly stated that the goal of life is to avoid becoming a member of the majority rather than to support them. Crazy, we must learn to value ourselves so that we may celebrate our accomplishments and abilities. Remember our own triumphs, no matter how minor they may appear, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us of our value. Doesn't center on what other people believe about you. Rather, it's what you do that makes you valuable. Your self-worth should be determined by how well you treat other people and how comfortable you are with them. Self-talk that is negative. By showing kindness to others around us, we are heeding the wisdom of those in need. According to Seneca, life is like a play. What matters is the quality, not the duration, of the behavior that counts. So let's shift our attention back to our development instead of evaluating ourselves against. The second habit of others is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, or the whispered conversations you conduct, is the next thing you should stop in your life. An internal dialogue is a private conversation that frequently takes place in the peaceful confines of your mind. quiet conversation, a persistent murmur that may serve as a constant reminder of your goals or as a driving force. Obstacle in your way, as the renowned Stoic philosopher who was formerly a slave put it. People's opinions about those things, not the items themselves, are what bother them. In fact, self-talk is an invisible friend who is always there and always has an impact. It could be both your strongest supporter, encouraging you to pursue your goals, or your most dangerous adversary, mercilessly critiquing. You constantly cast doubt on others and encourage insecurities. When your self-talk veers toward the negative, it starts to mold your world and change who you are. The edge of our consciousness, a lingering shadow that consistently obscures our best-laid plans with a gloomy veil plans. This phantom entices us with the seductive illusion of a later time, while whispering lovely words about the day of tomorrow. Following the next week, the upcoming month, or the conclusion of the month, and here procrastination feeds on our hesitations and inaction, becoming more intense with every second that goes by. One thing Epicus tells us about choice in the face of procrastination is that freedom and happiness start with a thorough comprehension of the idea that certain things are under our control and some are not, and you are in authority over your behavior, time management, and priorities. As you can see, Stoics place a strong focus on morality, and once more, Epicus offered some insightful advice on self-discipline. First, ask yourself what you would be, and then complete the necessary tasks. Procrastination is ultimately a silent thief is an unseen bandit who steals life's most important, precious, and ephemeral resource, time. Ignorant multitasking, stealthily taking use of our fantastic chances for career development, self-improvement, and personal growth development, and essential educational opportunities. Their effects are extensive, and its repercussions frequently irrevocable, as Seneca prudently cautioned us, and we don't have a limited amount of time to. His warning is really serious, since we waste a lot of our lives. When we discover that our plans and goals are stuck in a state of procrastination, but in the middle of all this, remember that Marcus Aurelius wisely observed that you could end your life at any moment. Let it guide your actions and words, and consider his remarks to be a sharp reminder. Reminder that the only thing we really have is the present. The past is simply a memory, and the future is only a promise. Since the present is all we have and all we can actually control, in the as Zeno of Citium stated, the spirit of seizing the day vowed to oppose procrastination. Since creating your future is the best method to predict it, let's make a commitment to not postpone, or it's never too late to take the initiative and move forward to make a difference. So to not be afraid to look back. Next in line, we address habit number 5, thoughtless multitasking. The illusion of efficiency through mindless multitasking, which we frequently laud in considering our capacity to multitask as evidence of our effectiveness and competence. Actually, according to Marcus Aurelius, fall into the trap of a common illusion. Focus every minute on focusing on the task at hand, with accuracy and sincere sincerity, which entails. This tendency is so established that people prefer to focus on one job rather than juggling others. For managing several jobs in modern society, where we usually become bogged down in an endless pursuit. The harsh reality of productivity is that what we view as an indicator of effectiveness. On the contrary, Epictetus shared this opinion, saying that if you want to get better, content to be viewed as ignorant and foolish. In other words, it is preferable to concentrate on one task and perform it properly instead of trying to manage several, especially thoughtless, badly multitasking tasks. Asking questions when multitasking creates a false impression of efficiency by allowing us to manage multiple things at once, is essentially broken And the unpleasant truth is that multitasking more usually results in a decrease in output and an increase in stress. Your focus is divided by the tremendous strain to complete each duty you add to your already overburdened plate. Accomplish several activities at once, which causes excessive stress and increases likelihood of mistakes. Marcus Aurelius reportedly suggested that you should live your life as even though it was your last. This implies that we should give each work our whole attention. Instead of racing through multiple activities at once, paying attention and considering Seneca's lessons offers additional knowledge of the dangers of multitasking. Seneca once said, "Overwhelming concern." His statement that everywhere is to be nowhere serves as a sobering reminder of the significance of focused, mindful practice. They highlight the notion that when we divide our focus too widely across many actions that we accomplish that fall short of our goals, instead of we should concentrate on giving one work at a time our whole attention rather than overcommitting ourselves. As Epic said, "No great thing. Tasking cultivates mindfulness, which brings clarity of thought and lowers the chance of mistakes. Is produced abruptly by focusing all of our attention and energy on one work. We have a higher chance of achieving excellent outcomes and enhancing our general well-being. But that doesn't mean we should limit ourselves to just one task at a time. Multitasking, but it must be done intelligently and mindfully rather than carelessly. Comprehend the distinction between disruptive and productive multitasking. By putting the by using the mindful single-tasking technique, we can make sure that we're giving each task our all, is more likely to result in a change from our personal lives to our professional endeavors. Our energy levels and mental health can be significantly improved by switching from multitasking to mindful single-tasking. As Seneca suggested, quality, not number, is what counts in terms of health. Keep in mind that the victorious fight against mindless multitasking. Avoid the trap of mindless multitasking by using the strategy of doing less, but doing it very well. Concentrate on being mindful. The sixth tasking behavior is excessive concern, which is the tyranny of excessive. Our next issue is worrying. This is a hefty chain that we frequently choose to wear, but why? Is it and is worrying excessively a natural human trait, or is it a taught behavior that results from our surroundings? Worrying can tie us and limit our potential and freedom, especially when it becomes chronic. Its burdensome weight can cause a variety of physical and mental health issues, including anxiety. People who recall the insightful words of Epicurus are not bothered by depression and stress-related disorders. Stuff. But the view makes people think about it over concerning thefts. Our calm and tranquility, which saps our energy and replaces it with excitement. Overcommitting. If left unchecked, doubt and ambiguity can swiftly develop into chronic stress, as Marcus Aurelius noted. Regarding fear of death, he stated that a man should not be afraid of death, but he ought to be afraid of never starting to life. So how can we address this problem? Stoic philosophers offered a significant perspective on this issue, arguing that most of our concerns are based on the future, a domain that is uncertain and outside of our power. To echo Seneca's insightful observation that the biggest hindrance to living is anticipating the future, and this observation is insightful and frequently contains a lot of truth. Our concerns are products of our imagination. They are not reflections of reality. Rather, they are scenarios that our minds create and possibilities that increase our worries and anxiety and cause us needless suffering. But as Epicurus said, it's not what happens to you, so this doesn't mean we should ignore our concerns. However, how you respond to it is what counts. We should recognize them, accept their existence, and let them fade. This is the essence of Stoicism. living in the now and accepting what we cannot change. It is freedom from the bonds of worry. Cannot change, but we may make changes where we can. As Marcus Aurelius stressed, very little is required to create a happy existence. It all depends on your mindset and how you choose to live in the moment. Can direct our efforts toward projects that have a beneficial influence on our lives and society as a whole. Scheme of things, worrying robs the tranquility and quiet instead of solving tomorrow's difficulties. Zeno of Citium wisely stated today that there is no reason to mourn over certain aspects of life. The entirety of it demands tears as you go through life, but keep in mind that worrying does not eliminate the issues of future. It only saps the tranquility of now. This is a powerful reminder that worrying is pointless and that living in the present. Behavior number 7 is overcommitting, which comes in second. On our list of typical dangers, there is a trap that many of us unwittingly fall into. Again and again, we find ourselves in a circumstance where we are perhaps unaware of the road we have chosen, often ignoring the warning indicators because we're too caught up in this never-ending cycle of commitments. This grave error stems from irrational expectations and perfectionism. Ineffective time management can lead to a variety of negative consequences. Consequences such as stress-related exhaustion, and in severe situations, it could potentially lead to burnout. We live in a time when people are more productive and busy is seen as a distinction mark. However, it's important to consider, what are we sacrificing our personal peace, health and well-being? Titus saw that satisfaction on the anvil of over-commitment epic does not seek to make things happen the way you want them to, but if you desire for things the way they are, you'll find them as we explore the core ideas of Stoic philosophy, which promotes moderation and balance in all facets of life, calling us to maintain a healthy balance. And by looking at our hectic life through this lens, we see that we are not wasting time instead of just not using it wisely, which is why the question arises: how can we break free from this complex web we've created? The answer is simple, but it requires execution. May be difficult, but we must start by setting realistic goals, because quality comes first. Quantity, and it's more about how well we can complete a task than how many tasks we can manage. Prioritizing obligations and learning the art of declining are crucial, as is setting expectations. Crucial, not every activity has the same importance. Differentiating between the important and urgent jobs, vital but non-urgent tasks, and non-critical chores can all be greatly improved. The cornerstone of our time management is efficient time management, which is often underestimated. Seneca's sage advice resonates because we must acknowledge our limitations and work to avoid going over them in order to prevent overcommitment. In this case, genuine happiness is living in the now without worrying about. We must accept that there will only be 24 hours in the future. In actuality, doing less and doing it well is better than doing more and doing it poorly. Inadequately, the secret is to keep in mind that it's not about juggling a ton of work, but rather how, as Seneca once remarked, life is long if you know how to use it, so let's cease overcrowding. We carry them out efficiently. Ignoring criticism. Making a commitment and starting to create our 8th life balancing habit. The self-imposed prison of perfectionism is the next topic we'll discuss. This idea is ingrained in the psyche as an all-encompassing concept that encompasses more than just the drive to succeed. Unrelenting pursuit of perfection that, if unchecked, can spiral into a destructive pattern. Reaching perfection might negatively impact our mental health and cause us to question everything all the time. Epictetus analyzed perfectionism in his teachings, saying that we distrust our own skills, and making growth requires constant self-improvement rather than chance or accident. Furthermore, he said that nothing extraordinary is made overnight, which suggests, if it were possible, perfection would be a process rather than a final result. Unfortunately, the constant quest for perfection frequently causes us to lose sight of our everyday progress. Improvements, according to Seneca, are advances that you should aim for rather than perfection makes us feel unsatisfied, which makes us forget our little successes and, as a result, Marcus Aurelius also wisely advised welcome, which is impeding our total advancement. Everything that happens to you is woven into your destiny to determine what will best fulfill your. Furthermore, he advised against viewing anything as a benefit to you, will cause you to be disloyal or lose your dignity in our pursuit of perfection. We frequently overlook the truth that, as Epicurus taught, challenges are what reveal a person's true nature. That these mistakes teach us important lessons and allow us to grow, but many of us are imprisoned by the concept of perfection, but it's crucial to keep in mind that it's an impossible objective. A more positive. Therefore, one strategy could be to aim for progress rather than perfection, as the Stoics held that the important thing is to maintain relationships that are toxic business solely with individuals that inspire you and whose presence motivates you to strive for perfection, while recognizing our flaws and growing from our errors can result in a more positive outlook and general personal growth, as the advising us to focus on being valuable rather than achieving success. Should be always evolving, accepting our individuality, admitting our flaws, and working toward. Please keep in mind Seneca's statement that a man cannot be refined without friction, just as a gem cannot be polished without. The 9th trial habit we'll be looking at is avoiding feedback. Marcus Aurelius once stated that the purpose of life is not to avoid criticism, to avoid falling into the ranks of the mad. Isn't it what we're doing when we choose to side with the majority? We avoid criticism by avoiding feedback, which is an intuitive behavior that many of us possess more frequently than ironically it can turn out to be a significant obstacle to our personal and professional lives. Progress in accordance with the Stoic philosophy's wisdom, this inclination is more detrimental than we think. The Stoics, in their profound comprehension of human nature, encouraged a more accepting attitude toward criticism. Let's now consider. According to this Seneca, challenges fortify the intellect in the same way as labor strengthens the body. How can we develop our skills or aptitudes if we don't know about our mistakes? How can we better ourselves if we're unwilling to accept our shortcomings and work to fix them? This is a difficult reality to accept, but we must start to see constructive criticism as a means of development and progress rather than a personal assault or an attack on our identity. Let's work to prevent this. Avoid this ineffective trap and instead make a conscious effort to actively seek out and receive comments. Epicurus sagely said that the important thing is to exclusively be around positive people. You are the one whose presence summons your finest self, so let's change our perspective and begin interpreting criticism as a chance to improve and develop. When we accept this shift in viewpoint, we may recognize our shortcomings and genuinely begin to thrive. Neglecting your mental well-being, recognize our mistakes and make the required adjustments to get better. This is the first step towards becoming the greatest versions of ourselves. Champions, this is a strong remark that sums up constructive criticism and comments in the best possible way. It's time for us all to begin enjoying this feast and genuinely begin to harness the energy that propels champions. Power of feedback, since we must begin if we want to become champions. Behaving like champions begins with accepting criticism, which Seneca says is the path to greatness is a difficult one, and habit number 10 is poisonous. Relationships. We then move on to the challenging topic of toxic relationships, which has been a topic of research since poisonous relationships in antiquity stand in sharp contrast to Stoic values. Philosophy. As Seneca once stated, surround yourself with individuals who will help you grow. This is a blatant criticism of toxic. The ancient Stoic philosopher saw us as being quite sociable and urged us to cultivate healthy relationships. Organisms meant to coexist peacefully with one another, they think that our pleasure and purpose are inherently connected to our interactions and cohabitation with others. Yet when this harmonious equilibrium is, relationships become toxic and are disturbed. They behave as venom that slowly seeps, infiltrating our own being, undermining our mental stability and impeding our individual. As S.N. Seneca famously remarked, toxic relationships are like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you get. We shouldn't follow the herd of animals in front of us like sheep, letting them go where others go instead of where we should. Now, this approach promotes alignment rather than taking advantage of people for one's own gain. Spend time with people who challenge, inspire, and uplift you, those who help you develop and change. As Seneca stated, we should never stop wondering how to become a better version of ourselves. Personally, is this something that's in my control? Is a useful lesson that we may use to manage hazardous interactions more frequently. Lack of empathy, respect, and mutual development. It's a place where lying and manipulation are common. Here, love, understanding, and respect for one another are subordinated to power and dominance. When one person's wants are given precedence over those of the others, the relationship becomes unbalanced and unhealthy. Seneca once remarked that life is like a play. What matters is not how long it lasts, but how it's the acting that counts. And this serves as a reminder to be authentic and avoid putting up with harmful behavior. Relationships. It takes bravery and self-love to break free from these bonds. Never forget that you deserve love and respect, and that you don't have to burn yourself alive too. In conclusion, keeping others warm is an important part of self-care, which includes choosing carefully who you allow into your life. Regarding selecting partnerships that promote development, uplift optimism, and support. Habit number 11. Ignoring mutual respect and understanding. Last, but certainly not least, is the disregard for your emotional health, which frequently includes completely disregarding it. This is a significant issue that deserves of the greatest care and attention amid the whirlwind of our hectic life, with the due to the ongoing responsibilities of job, family, and society. We frequently overlook what keeps us united. Keep in mind that this carelessness might be severe and goes beyond a simple oversight. Harmful resulting from ignorance of stigma or blatant disregard, based on the knowledge of ancient philosophers and contemporary science, agree that the mind and body are inextricably linked. The body is the means by which we travel through life, and the mind is the component that forms the two halves of our holistic existence. Serves as our compass, guiding us in the same way that we feed and replenish our bodies and brains. Must be sustained, cared for, and nurtured by disregarding our mental health. We unintentionally let outside circumstances influence us. He said that people should take care of their mental health as long as you continue to learn how to live this charge, which pushes us to constantly. The culture of silence surrounding mental health is one that prioritizes and nurtures our mental health as a way of life. It increases the possible harm that neglect can create when we ignore our mental. When we ignore a vital aspect of our health, it can lead to a cascade of problems such as worry. Burnout, stress, and depression can all result in severe distress, hinder our ability to operate. There is a widespread misperception that admitting to having mental health issues is a sign of weakness. This is completely untrue. It requires courage and self-awareness to acknowledge when we are having difficulty acknowledging that we may have been neglecting our mental health, and to get assistance when needed, to check in with ourselves, take care of ourselves, get professional assistance, and extend making mental health a priority and practicing self-compassion are all components of mental health hygiene. Acknowledging our emotions, comprehending our demands, and taking the required actions to guarantee our mental epicus once stated that we cannot become connected to things or people if we are not happy. When we lose them, we will undoubtedly feel sad. It's acceptable to put your mental health first. To stand back and concentrate on healing, the conversation about mental health must change from one of disregard and dismissal to one of comprehending acceptance and setting priorities, which calls for a collect. The first step in any endeavor is to recognize and comprehend our own mental wellness, its significance, and not being afraid to ask for assistance when necessary. So don't simply disregard your mental health, accept it, take the time to examine yourself, and get treatment when necessary. Keep in mind that it's acceptable to ask for help when you need it and to not feel okay. Make your mental health a priority and don't neglect it. In conclusion, we've learned a lot today, haven't we? We've avoided the dangers of unhealthful comparisons, and we've highlighted the dangers of procrastination and mindless multitasking, as well as negative self-talk. Overcommitment, undue concern, and the perfectionist trap have all been highlighted. The significance of accepting criticism, ending unhealthy relationships, and, most importantly, not disregarding your mental. Every one of these 11 health-related ideas from the wellspring of Stoic wisdom is a reminder to not only exist, but to live, is a signpost on the way to a better you. And lead our lives, they invite us to break the patterns and attitudes that prevent us from provide room for calm, growth, and resilience as we embark on this adventure. Keep in mind that self-improvement is a marathon, not a sprint. Process a trip. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Keep in mind the path to it takes a marathon, not a sprint, to improve oneself. Go forth and conquer your life, one action at a time.